Well, greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome to Best Movie, Worst Movie. What's the principle here? Well, it's really rather simple. We take a topic or a subject or a category every week, and then we simply break it down into what is the best movie of that category, and of course, what is the worst movie of that category? Joining me here today as we go through a really fun category that I'm looking forward to doing today, Mr. Robert Myronette. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, this is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to this. I really like Chris Evans as an actor and a director, so it's going to be fun to talk about his career.
And he just, of course, stole my thunder and told you what the category is. It is, of course, Chris Evans films today that we are doing. And joining us to discuss Chris Evans, the best and worst of, we've got, of course, Olympic swimmer, Mr. Cody Miller. Cody, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I also love Chris Evans. I mean, what a beautiful human and a funny guy and a great actor. So this is a fun category.
It is a fun category. And I'm so glad that you brought up just what he's like as a person. I have had the privilege of sitting down talking with Chris Evans probably about 5 or 6 times. And he is always so fun to be around. Actually, my all-time favorite, it's the most viewed interview I ever did. It was me, Chris Hemsworth, and Chris Evans. And it went off the rails. Yeah, and Jonathan Voico edited that video. That one went completely off the rails. It was the funniest interview I've ever done in my life. And every other time I've had a chance to talk to Chris Evans, just fantastic. I actually got to do the very first interview with Chris Evans after the very first public screening of Captain America, the First Avenger. They did the first public screening of it at CinemaCon, or not CinemaCon, at Comic-Con years and years and years ago. And at that theater in San Diego, it was me, CNN, and one other company. I don't know why I was one of them, but I got to interview Chris Evans there. And just so great and so wonderful. And just, he's one of those guys, Rob, you know the type that you just, man, I want good things for that person. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So,
for sure.
And he's just got that kind of personality. And he's got a wide range of films on his stuff. Obviously, most well known for playing Captain America, obviously. Broke in being one of the first actors ever to play a really recognizable comic book character in Johnny Storm, and then a really another recognizable comic book character in Captain America as well. And he's done a couple of other kind of superhero comic book films as well that get overlooked. He did one, it might have been a Netflix film called Push.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
That one wasn't bad. I think Jaimon Hansu was in that one with him. Not a bad little film.
Set in like Hong Kong. It was over in Asia. You know, when he was part of that ensemble of, I don't know, were they mutants? What were they?
Yeah, it was kind of like a mutant kind of film. But he did another comic book movie that I think is his most underrated, and that's The Losers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That he did with, other MCU alum. He did it with Idris Elba. He did it with, who plays Gamora again?
Oh, Zoe Saldana.
He did with Zoe Saldana. He did it with Batman's dad.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who is, of course, will always be, the father of the Winchesters in Supernatural to me. I mean, that's a tremendously underrated film. So we've got a lot to talk about. When you think about Chris Evans, what are some of the things that come to your mind?
Well, I mean, I do think about Captain America. I mean,
yeah, sure.
But there's, I don't want to spoil it yet, but there's some ensemble pictures that he's been in, not superhero related, but ensemble movies, and one of them is my best movie and one of them is my worst movie. So I like when he works with a cast, like in Knives Out. You know, I think that he's clearly a performer that loves to work with other performers. I think he's very giving in that way, and I love him when he's in and part of an ensemble cast.
Cody, you're just talking about as a great guy. When you think of Chris Evans, what are the sorts of things you think of?
Well, one of my wife's favorite movies is Not Another Teen Movie, and she rewatches it all the time. So that was probably my first movie that I ever saw with him in it. That's one of his earlier films.
Yeah, it is.
And it's funny, you watch that movie and he's not the best actor, but it's not exactly the best material in that film. And then you see him now, as Captain America, but some of those other roles, like his role in Knives Out, he's really grown.
Look how young he looks.
It's amazing to see how far he's come. Yeah, it's wild. So, but I obviously, like everyone, kind of see him as Captain America, but he's also seems like the guy, outside of being on set like a kind of guy that you would just want to hang out with. So that's one reason why this is a fun category.
One of the things that I learned about him too was during one of the Avengers press days, and I was sitting down with him, and before the camera started rolling, like I didn't know that him and Scarlett Johansson have been like BFFs for like 20 years or something like that. So that's one of the cooler things I learned about him. Okay, well, it's time to get down to business here. We are now going to definitively tell you people what is the best Chris Evans movie, what is the worst Chris Evans movie. And I will start things off here with the best. Now, I have not applied this rule to Cody or Rob. This is just a rule for me, just for me. I decided I was going to limit my selections down to movies that are truly Chris Evans movies, whether he is either the lead or one of the definitive top 2 or 3 leads. So you see what I'm saying? Now, it can be an ensemble. Rob's obviously got an ensemble. That's perfectly fine. I'm saying for me and my particular picks, there's that. And there are a lot of movies when you're talking, again, I love The Losers. I love that movie an awful lot. Knives Out, incredible. You're talking about Avengers and Endgame. For me, again, with my own personal rule, he's got to be in the top 1, 2, or 3 of the top billed people. I think, and you know what, I think it is his best movie with maybe the exception of one that's an ensemble piece, but I'm going to go with Captain America Civil War. Civil War to me is a top 5 MCU film. I think it's probably a top 5 comic book movie, period. That was a movie that, it was the first time in the MCU for me. Like, I think the first Avengers movie, which he is also in as a part of an ensemble, I think that's the greatest comic book movie of all time. But it was Civil War that really started to introduce us into some heavier dramatic aspects, right? Like the whole idea of these two characters, Tony and Steve, having this basic philosophical difference, but having that kind of depth of a philosophical difference can lead to much bigger conflict, which it obviously does there. And then you start layering in stuff about the Winter Soldier and the murder of Tony's parents and the fact that these guys straight up tried to kill each other. And I mean, it's a brilliantly put together story. It's a brilliantly put together narrative, and it is all carried on Chris Evans's back. And again, this scene, it's Captain America. I love Paul Rudd. I know you too. You're great. That's like one of the best scenes. But and it's part of the reason why I think this was the movie to me that totally solidified that Steve Rogers, Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, was my de facto favorite character in the MCU. Not my all-time favorite comic book character, but characters in the MCU. He became it. That was really, and there's a shot he trained for 7 months for just because he knew he had that shot coming up. But he became my de facto, like he was the moral compass of the MCU. He's a guy who predicated everything on personal conviction. I just love him. And I think Civil War is the one movie more than any of the others that really made him play Steve in a way that he truly had to follow those moral convictions because it pitted him against his own best friends. And I love that. And that is why, for me, Chris Evans's best movie is Captain America Civil War. Cody, let's go over to you. There's a whole bunch of Chris Evans movies here, but if you got to break it down into one that is his best, what would you say it is?
Yeah, he's got a lot of really great movies. And the movie that I'm going to pick is the film. It's also a Captain America film. It's the movie that made me think, wow, that guy could actually be Captain America in the real world. That guy is now my favorite Marvel character. And it was Captain America, the Winter Soldier, because I enjoyed the first Captain America movie. You know, it was a World War film.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. It really is. But I never really felt like he was the perfect Cap. I thought he was a good Cap. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a fun movie. And I liked him in Avengers. But when Captain America, the Winter Soldier came out, that movie changed the game for me. His dynamic with Bucky Barnes, the fast action, cutting pace of the movie. You know, it's the one time, maybe of 2 times in the MCU where they killed a character that I actually believed. When Nick Fury gets killed in that movie, I actually thought they killed Nick Fury. And it's funny now, because this movie's almost 10 years old now. It's funny now, it's like they still have plans for Nick Fury here 10 years later. So like clearly that was never really going to happen. But like when he died in that film, it really hit me hard. You know, there are moments in that film where I felt a true resonance with him as Cap. And I felt like he was a little jokey in the first Avengers film. Once again, I still love that film, but Captain America: The Winter Soldier, it really shifted the game for the MCU, in my opinion, because it really showed that you can take a straightforward action thriller movie and make it work in this wild cinematic universe that also has these space galactic battles going on. But there's real grounded stories to be told that are just, if not more, as engaging. And it was all on the shoulders of Chris Evans and his performance, his relationship with Scarlett Johansson in that film. I mean, it's amazing. I feel like this movie elevated the MCU for me. And that feeling walking out of the theater, I was like, what did I just watch? It was wild. And so that's my pick for the best, for Chris Evans' best film. It's close because I also love your pick, John. I really, really do. But that feeling I had the first time I watched The Winter Soldier, it never left me. It really never did.
I still remember the first press screening, the very first press screening they had for it. And, we were a bunch of us, jaded, film pundits, where we're going into it. It's like, they say it's going to be like a 70s political thriller. I'm like, yeah, sure. But I remember all of us coming out of that theater. It was at the AMC Century City in Los Angeles. And we came out of that theater and everybody was like, what did we just watch? Like, you're right. That kid that was another big game changer for the MCU, was that movie. So, Rob, we've got Captain America: Civil War. We got Captain America: Winter Soldier. You're thinking about Chris Evans movies. What is the best Chris Evans movie?
Okay, here's the thing. My go-to position was going to be a Captain America movie, because I think in terms of actor and role and things, his definitive, indelible performance as Captain America is, you can't. And I was going to say what Cody said. I was going to go with Captain America: The Winter Soldier, because like you just said, it knocked me out. I thought it was great. But then I got to thinking, well, what about people that don't like comic book movies? If you're not a comic book movie fan. And I was thinking, look, we all love comic book films, people that watch this channel. But like my mom, I'm like, if I told my mom to go watch a Chris Evans movie, I couldn't tell her to go watch Captain America, because she might like it. And I was thinking, like, in the general pantheon of movies, and I realized, I was like, there's a Chris Evans movie that is totally unrelated to comic books that I love. And it is a science fiction film. It's also a disaster movie. And it is a wonderful movie directed by Danny Boyle, who directed, of course, Slumdog Millionaire, Academy Award winning. And that is, I believe it's 2007's Sunshine. And Sunshine is I think it's a knockout science fiction film. It's one of there's probably I'd say there's about 10 great science fiction movies of the last 20 years. I love this movie. Now, some people might have a problem with the end of it, but there is a real sense of awe and wonder in this film, a real sense of peril. I think it does what great science fiction movies do, which is make you contemplate your own place in the universe and what does this all mean? And at the same time, it's got incredible special effects. I mean, they literally have to go to the sun is going out. We're all going to freeze to death and die unless this mission to the sun, and he plays one of the astronauts on the mission, and it's a great ensemble cast. And I think that he comes off really, really well, and it shows that for me, before he was this is pre First Avenger, so we haven't seen him as Captain America yet, and watching him his career emerge to me is exciting because he is a great performer. And you can see, but even as Johnny Storm, he was part of an ensemble, a superhero ensemble, so he wasn't the lead. But this film, I think, on both Sunshine and even in The Losers, it shows he could be a lead. You can see this performer. He's an electrifying presence. He's a very handsome guy. He has sort of these qualities in him where you believe in him. Like, you look at him and you trust him. There's something interesting that he inherently, I think, has as a human being that really comes out on camera.
And don't these pictures of him in Sunshine make it look like he's also from Carpenter's The Thing? A little bit.
Yes.
It looks like he could have fit right into the thing.
Yes. And in a way, there is a little bit of the thing in Sunshine. A little bit.
There is.
But I picked this film because it was the kind of movie that I could give to anybody, and it was tough because I think, look, whether you pick Avengers, whether you pick any of the Captain America movies, I love I think one of his best scenes is Captain America's in Endgame when he sits down and talks to Natasha and nothing is going on but two people in a room, sort of reassessing where we at after the blip. It's been 5 years and why are we still doing this? Or the scene, when Chris Evans is running that therapy session, talking to the soldiers, how's your life going? I mean, he's an incredible performer, but so my pick is Sunshine.
Not gonna lie to you. It was close to being my pick for worst.
Oh my God.
I know. It's Sunshine is one of those movies that I know a lot of my friends love that just never quite worked for me, but I like your pick. I'm glad you picked Sunshine. So we've got Captain America Civil War, we've got Captain America Winter Soldier, and we've got Sunshine. Those are our picks for the best movie of the great career of Chris Evans. Well, now let's flip gears a little bit. Let's start looking at what might be the worst. But before we get to the worst ones, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, Ryan Reynolds, and our friends over at Mint Mobile. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, Ryan Reynolds, and specifically his delightful company, Mint Mobile. So look, after years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't a catch. And guys, this is no joke. I have been using Mint Mobile for months now. And on top of the fact that I'm spending literally about 1/3 every month of what I was spending on my former major carrier, I've discovered no decline in my service. I kept my phone number and I was able to keep my phone. The switch from my old service to Mint Mobile couldn't have been easier and saved me more money. And the best part for anybody who just hates their phone bills is that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring this video. Okay, guys, we talked about the best films, and it's always more fun to talk about the best ones, but we do also have to go to the dark side. We got to talk about the ones that are probably the worst. And there are a couple on Chris Evans's resume that are not spectacular. Vast majority of them are very good. Couple not so good. I will lead us off here with the negative. Whereas my favorite of his was Captain America Civil War, my least favorite of his is one that was almost a prequel Civil War reunion. It was a movie that not only had himself from Civil War, it also had Martin Freeman from Civil War. It also had Anthony Mackie from Civil War. And if you just want to throw in another little MCU connection, Chris Pratt was even in this movie. And Chris Pratt's ex-wife, Anna Faris. We're talking about the romantic comedy, What's Your Number? That he did, that is one of the most predictable, we're going back to 2010, 2011, the most predictable, as many rom-coms are, but the most predictable rom-com ever. I'm going to give you a little bit of the synopsis here. A girl who's, having problems finding Mr. Right comes across this article. It's brought up to her that, women who have had more than 20 lovers drastically have a much lower chance of ever meeting their soulmate. And she's on like 19 or 20, 19 or 20. I can't remember exactly. And so she thinks it's a stupid premise for a movie. She thinks, well, I better go back and revisit all the guys I have dated to see if one of them could be Mr. Right. Oh, and I met this new neighbor from across the hall, Chris Evans, who's going to help me track down all my exes. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen there. But at any rate, this movie, besides being one of the dumbest premise for a rom-com, and I like a good rom-com. I don't mind telling you at all. I enjoy a good rom-com. I really, really do. But this was just such a bad premise. Horrible, unfunny lines and dialogue. Like it's at times it is painful. Like I'm not going to over-exaggerate. There are a couple of moments that I giggled in the film. Sure, I'll give it that. but for the most part is just painfully unfunny. It is material that is far below the worth and value of an incredible cast that is in there. Because I love Anna Faris. I think she's great. Chris Evans, obviously, I love all that kind of stuff. But there's Chris with Martin Freeman as well in there. It's honestly one of those sitcoms that's painful to watch. It is just painful to watch. And watching a guy like Chris Evans trying his best to make the best out of the material that he's got in front of him is sad. It makes me sad. It makes my heart cry. So I am going to say that the worst Chris Evans movie is What's Your Number? And I stand by that wholeheartedly. Rob, you gave us Sunshine as your best. Are you going to pull a disasters movie and also call it your worst, or do you have another one?
No. I Cody Miller's wife, who I've met once, she's lovely, is going to hate my guts. Not Another Teen Movie is my worst Chris Evans film. Now, this movie was directed by a former MTV executive that I guess wanted to transition into film. I am not a fan. First of all, this actually has a really good cast. It's got Mia Kirshner in it, who I love too.
Right.
But I can't stand the parody genre. I mean, I used to like it. You know, Airplane being the granddaddy of all parody movies. But then it was like, there's been so many, and they get worse and worse and worse. And I understand. No, Cody, please, I hope your wife won't hate me after this. But I just think this movie is painfully unfunny. I thought it was just dumb. And even Chris Evans, even his presence can't save what is. I mean, I don't think there's one joke in this movie I've laughed at. And I've actually seen this movie twice. And I hated this movie.
Not one moment that cracked a grin on your face.
No, because you know what?
Look how far he's come.
Yeah, but there you go. There's a great juxtaposition.
Look how far Chris Evans has come.
Nothing pretty much symbolizes Chris Evans' career more than this picture that Jonathan's put together. I would say that everything you need to know about Chris Evans' career. I mean, hey, let's face it, even in Not Another Teen Movie, he still looks pretty good. Anybody would like to look how he looks right there.
Sure.
But not, I mean, if you want to know where we're at, I mean, there's the lovely Mia Kirshner right there. And I'm a big fan of hers. But yeah, for me, these parody movies are not worth watching. I know people love them. Hot Shots I kind of liked.
Oh, I love Hot Shots.
You go back to the Zaz movies.
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs I'll tolerate. I know you love it. It's got some good lines. It is Mel Brooks after all. But by the time you're into the aughts.
Oh, yeah. Meet the Spartans, dude, all that kind of garbage.
I'd rather put a gun in my mouth and just never see another morning. If I have to watch another parody movie, it would not be soon enough. I hope I don't make you feel so bad, Cody.
All right. Okay, so far we've got What's Your Number? We've got Not Another Teen Movie. These are some bad ones. So Cody, we throw it over to you. We know that Winter Soldier was your favorite Chris Evans one. What is the worst?
I just find it so funny because neither of those movies are like that bad, guys.
Oh,
there are far
so
worse
bad.
movies out there. They're just funny thing. So I train with a number of female Olympians, and like last week they had the conversation of best romantic comedy, and I swear all four of those girls had Not Another Teen Movie at the top of that list, like top 3. So I feel like there's definitely an audience that really loves that movie.
Well, let me just say, you had me at female Olympians, but that doesn't mean their taste in film translates. Just saying.
And and John, your pick, I think that movie's totally watchable. I like Chris Evans' character in that movie. Like, I liked his ridiculously confident, the voiceovers, all that. I thought it was okay, but
you know what he is? In that movie, he's the same character that, what was it, Hugh Jackman was in that comedy about New Cow. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
With Judd. With I think Ashley Judd.
Yeah.
Where I'm trying to remember the name of it, but like she's I can't remember the name, so I'm just gonna have to skip over that for now. Or she's the same character that Gerard Butler is in
The Ugly Truth.
The Ugly Truth.
Exactly,
which, by the way,
exactly.
everybody craps on The Ugly Truth. That is an awesome comedy. I love that
Wow.
movie. But
See,
I mean,
I don't think
that's
movie-
that character, right? It's a standard rom-com character.
Exactly. And there are far worse rom-coms. Like, it's not that bad. It's not great, but it's not that bad. And I'll tell you what, I would watch either one of those movies over the movie that I picked. But even the movie that I picked, I don't hate. Like, it's not one that I'm like, like, sometimes we do this podcast and there are movies that we talk about that we would rather die than watch this movie again. This is not one of those
Like
movies.
not another teen movie.
Rob is, you're just not scoring points with my wife right now. Well, the movie that I picked is, I believe, the first movie that Chris Evans did with one of his best friends, Scarlett Johansson, from the early 2000s. It's called The Perfect Score. And once again, it's not a terrible movie.
It's a terrible movie.
It's a terrible
It's a terrible movie.
Of all
I
the
agree with
Chris
you, but
Evans
Cody.
movies, and well, Rob, I haven't seen the movie that you picked as your favorite. What was that one called again?
Sunshine.
Sunshine. Okay, yeah. I mean, obviously, I love Danny Boyle, but yeah, I have not seen Sunshine. So there's a few I haven't seen. However, of all the Chris Evans movies, I've seen most of them that I've seen. The one that I would probably rewatch the last is The Perfect Score. And it's actually got kind of a cool premise. You know, a bunch of teenagers decide, hey, we want to do really well on our SATs so that we can get into these really good colleges. So we're going to break into the test center and steal the results or steal the answers so that we get good results on our SATs. You know, it's kind of a fun, like, teen heist in theory. In reality, it's just meh. It's okay. It kind of makes me chuckle. You know, you can basically take the cast of The Breakfast Club from 15 years ago, throw them in high school in 2004, and they decide to try and steal some answers to some tests. And that's kind of the premise of the movie. But it's just not that funny. And ultimately, I really didn't like, I'll just spoil the movie. Basically, they get in there. They get to the facility, they're in there, and then in order for them to get the answers, they have to take the test, which, like, kind of makes no sense whatsoever. So then they all break apart into teams and they start taking the test, and then they all learn, oh, like, we're actually smart enough to take this test. There's no reason we need to steal.
Oh,
it's
my
like, it's really
God.
dumb. It's really dumb.
The power was in you all along.
Exactly. So that's, like, really cringe. But it's there's a lot of cringe in both of your two picks, right? But it's cringe that I expect and that I accept. The cringe in The Perfect Score is like, there's like made for TV Disney films for children, and then there's like a notch above that. That's where I put this movie. It's not unwatchable, but it's not good. And so that's why it's my pick for the worst movie. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Our best picks for Chris Evans's great resume is Captain America Civil War, Captain America Winter Soldier, and Sunshine. For worst, I'm going with What's Your Number? We've got Not Another Teen Movie, and we've got The Perfect Score. The question is for you, what would you rank as Chris Evans's best movie and Chris Evans's worst movie? We're going to take a look in the comments once you guys write them down there. So jump on down there and leave your thoughts there. And guys, that'll do it. That'll wrap us up for another installment of Best Movie, Worst Movie. I want to thank the people joining me. Of course, Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people follow you online?
You can find me on Instagram at RM Burnett, find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, or find me at postgeeksingularity.com.
And of course, Cody Miller. Cody, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram, just at Cody Miller, or check out my YouTube channel, Cody Miller Adventures. Thanks, guys.
And of course, you guys can follow me on Instagram or on Twitter, simply at John Campea. Big thanks to producer Jonathan Voico for running the show here today. And thank you to you guys for joining us. That'll do us for now. So until next week's episode, bye-bye.